Hey y'all, I hope y'all can see me. Let me scoot back a little bit. Hey, hey. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Okay, for real. Let me check to make sure that I am live and that you can hear me. Um, we gonna get this started. Let me check on my phone to make sure that I am live in the place to be. Let's see. Before we get started, yep, I am. All right. So let me cut the volume down on my phone. Okay. All right. I hope that you can hear me. And I pray all is well with you and yours on this beautiful Friday. It was a little chilly. It's a little chilly, but guess what? We're here, and I'm so happy that you took time out to invest in your health and wellness. You could have been scrolling and doing anything else, but you decided to see what I'm talking about, to see what's going on, and just to be here. And I thank you. I thank you so much from my heart. Hopefully you hear my heart, and I thank you so much. So, okay. So this is the third Freedom Friday that I've done. I think this month, I want no, I think it started last month. This month has rolled by so fast, y'all. Like, wow. Especially when it getting dark early. But so it was put on my spirit to do like a Freedom Friday, and to be able to just assist people, to give information first and foremost, about parts of health and wellness, in a holistic way, to also, just provide some insight on some of my journey, because, I'm still on the journey. And so if you all may or may not know, I'm very transparent about my journey and the things that I'm experiencing and not experiencing, or parts of my journey that people may assume that they know and they don't have any idea, or just to, just give answers to questions or whatever the case may be. So if you had, first of all, I want to say again, thank you. If you have any questions, health related questions, anything, I don't care what it is. No question is a dumb question. Okay? No question is a dumb question. Please put them in the chat. And I may not, well, in the comment section, I may not answer it right away, but when I go back through this video, I will answer those questions, because, here's the thing. I had to dig and research, and that's what I still do, about health and wellness things, especially when it pertains to the Black community. A lot of the information that's out here is either outdated or it's not in favor of the Black community. And so this is what I wanted to do, to get on here. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not disregarding other people that may be watching, other ethnicities and different things like that. If you are, hey, welcome to Free to Friday. But my particular audience is for African Americans, people of color, because we're, have the most health disparities, like forever. I don't know why, I'm not going to get into what I think, but this is catered towards that. And so, holistic health, right? If you don't know, I'm Marquita Hudson. I am the owner and founder of Live Well Beautiful. Live Well Beautiful. I love this. This is dope. I love it. I'm a hoodie girl, in the winter time. But I am the owner and founder of Live Well Beautiful Coaching and Counseling, where I provide mental health counseling. Also, as a separate service, I provide holistic wellness coaching. If you want to know more about the services I provide, please visit livewellbeautiful.com. I do a free 10-minute discovery call, so you can, get a little bit more information about what I do and all of that good stuff. So let's get into today's topic. Today's topic is mindset shifts needed to find success in your health and wellness journey. And one thing I do want to say about success is that success looks different for everybody. So one person's success, let's just give an example. one person's success could be, to lose weight, to lose waist, right? But another person's success could be to just, get off of statins or, some type of medicine that they're taking, or maybe to not be on dialysis. So everybody's definition of success is different. So I just wanted to put that out there. So that's, just put that disclaimer out there. Also, mindset shifts. So before I hop into that, what does that mean? Pretty much it means to kind of shift your way of thinking about your health and wellness. To kind of shift your way of thinking about how you can reach your health and wellness goals. And the reason I think this is so important is because and I say we because it's myself as well, we are bombarded with so many things about diet and just what's the latest diet, what's the latest thing, from keto, from low carb, from high carb, from carnivore, from all of these things. But when you come from a holistic perspective, just think about this. Holistic is God's way, the creator's way, whoever you want to believe in. That's that way, so we take it from a spiritual, mental, emotional, nutritional, and physical. And physical includes exercise, sleep, and different things of that nature. But diet culture try to make you think on one path. Like, if I do keto, if I do this exercise, if I go to HIIT class every day, then I will reach my goals. So it has us in this one tunnel vision type of thing. Which can get us in a space of on this never-ending cycle, and ultimately maybe affecting our health in an adverse way, and also we never reach our goals or of success, whatever we want success to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the tips that I got for switching your mindset. So pretty much, again, it's just looking at life in your health and wellness journey in a totally different perspective. Because sometimes we're not, and I don't want to go too far off of this, but I want to make this clear. Some of the things that we think are right are not right, because most of our thoughts are not our own. Because our thoughts are, I guess, influenced by so many external things. Again, if somebody says this is, keto is the way to go, then you're going to think, okay, keto is the way to go because I've seen XYZ person lose weight, but you're really not understanding the holistic perspective when it comes to doing a diet as keto. From my experience, and I'm not beating up on keto. I'm not, because it has helped some people. But from my research, keto started with people who having seizures, more in particular children, because keto is a high-fat diet, right? So high-fat foods, healthy high-fat foods, help with the nervous system, with the brain, with epilepsy, with seizures. And so that was the initial reason for the keto diet, So I think that we have to kind of dig a little bit deeper when it comes to choosing things. And that was just an example, choosing diets and different things like that, or switching our mindset from a, tunnel vision. I just got to do this type of diet or this type of exercise to a more holistic, because we're a whole being. We're whole people. We're not pieces of, we're not like a complete leg or an arm. We're a holistic being. And that's how God designed and created us to be, okay? So I want to get into these tips. I'm so excited because most of these tips, I ain't going to say most, all of them have been proven through myself and through the clients that I work, has been proven successful, right? So this is not something I'm just grabbing out of the sky. These are things that I have actually put in place for myself and my clients that seem to be working right now. Some of the things I may add onto this list, but these are the top things that I thought, the top 10 things. At first I was going to do only 5, but I was like, I'm going to give you all a little bit more, and then, this is just information. You use it as you please, okay? So first thing I want to start with is a healthy body is only as good as the spirit and the mindset and the soul. I want to add that. So let me repeat that. A healthy body externally is only as good as the spirit internally and the mindset and the soul. Because I'm just gonna tell you, and let's just keep it a buck, and let's just keep it a buck. Y'all know I'm gonna say the truth. Well, from my experience, how our body looks or functions, and I'm not just gonna say looks because we can go down that rabbit hole, but it's a direct reflection of what's going on internally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Certain organs, if they fail, on the spiritual level, it can tell us some things. Say for instance, anxiety. If a person is experiencing anxiety a lot, they may have issues with their kidneys and their adrenal glands, right? And so to say that spirit matters, yes, your internal spirit environment matters, and whatever is on the inside is going to reflect on the outside. That's nature, and that's God. That's how God operates. Okay, so I'm gonna start with number one, and I hope that you have a pen and pad. Again, this is not for your entertainment. I mean, you may laugh a little bit. That's okay, but I hope you have a pen and pad. If not, you can just rewatch this video because I will not be on here for long tonight. So number one, and I mentioned this in I think one of the first Freedom Friday videos, but I have to mention it again because it's so important, and a lot of people skip this step. I don't even care if this journey is not about losing weight and different things like that, just in life in general. Self-assessment. That's number one. That's number one for mindset shift. You have to do a self-assessment. How do you know how can I say this? You have to be aware of where you are in order to go wherever you're trying to go. I don't care what it is in life. So a self-assessment, get to know who you are. Like, who are you? Without all of these external influences, without all these people telling you, okay, you should be doing this and doing that. Who are you? What do you like? What do you enjoy? Get to know who you are. Do you, what do you like? Like, get to know you. Not the pretend you, not the you that you put on, or the face that you have to put on in certain situations or certain environments. Get to know who you are, even outside of, like, I want to say even outside of family sometimes, because sometimes our family can define things for us that's not necessarily work for us. And it's not to discredit anything that your family has done, but get to know who you are. And one of the ways you can do that is with a coach. Preferably someone that knows how to help you address maybe some unmet emotional needs, or to even just give you some clarity and insight for you to start doing the work and digging and understanding who you are as a person in general. Now, we can break this down to like nutrition and exercise. So some people may love dancing, and that's their form of exercise. That's great. Maybe they were a dancer back in the day. I mean, let me tell you, did I say like maybe ballet or something? I don't know, whatever dancer they wanted to be, but maybe as a form of exercise, that can be good for them. Instead of, going to somebody and they say, okay, this is what you need to do. So get to know who you are, That's so important on all levels. So do a self-assessment, And I think it's really key to have some awareness of who you are. Who are you? Now, I'm not saying that you have to, stop everything that you're doing with this list and even with number one, but start that work. You can get a therapist. I'm big on therapy, not just because I'm a therapist, but some of it is. But therapy is not always, okay, I need to deal with my trauma. I do therapy work, trauma therapy work, I do. But also I help people in therapy to problem solve, to set realistic goals, And so therapy is not always about, I got some unmet emotional needs, or, my childhood was trauma, and it's good for those things, but it's also good to help to problem solve, to set goals. And so getting someone that's, unbiased, somebody that you don't know to help you through that process is key. And so number one is to do a self-assessment. Again, I do that type of work. If you want to reach out to me, let's get started. I'm here for you. But if not, find someone that you can work with to help you kind of dig up who you are. All right. Number two is the why. I know we hear this a lot. Why are you doing this? Why? What's your why? What's your why? And be crystal clear about your why. Like, why are you in this health and wellness journey? And I used to say, you should have a why that it has some substance, and I still think that way. But however, if you have a why that's more short term, as a coach, I would say, okay, we can focus in on this why, but we need to have a bigger outcome. So if you're a person that needs to break it down, like you're saying, okay, well, my birthday is in February and I really want to get to 10, lose about 10 to 15 pounds. Okay, we can focus in, we can make that a sub why, but what's the biggest outcome? If that the sub why is going to get you to the bigger outcome, okay, we can work in this. But if you're just coming saying, okay, my why is to lose 10 pounds. Okay, so when you lose the 10 pounds, what's after that? What type of maintenance are we on? What happens when you relapse? Because it will happen. What happens, when life happens and you're not able to maintain the weight that you lost? And so that's the approach that I'm talking about. Have a substantial why, but if you need to break that why down to like sub whys, I get that. But at the same time, make sure that your why has some substance. Why do you want to do this? Do you want to be able to run around with your grandchildren? Do you want to be able to climb up a flight of stairs without losing your breath? Do you want to be able to complete a 5K? Do you want to just feel better? Like, what is your why? And be crystal clear about that why. This is a huge mindset shift, because if you're not crystal clear, you're going to be all over the place, right? You're going to be all over the place. You're going to be hopping from diet to trainer to workout class to this and that, unless being all over the place is your why, but be crystal clear on your why. Okay. Number 3, this is really good. I like this one. Give attention or power, because it's a power season. I don't know. Power has been something that's been dropped in my spirit from the last, 2 months, this word power, right? So give attention or power to what you can do instead of what you can't do. When we're on any type of health and wellness journey, any life journey, sometimes we can get stuck in the space of focusing in on what we cannot do. So, and we ruminate over there. We think about it. We call somebody about it, and that's all that we do. And so what is that doing is giving more power to whatever your deficit is, whatever you feel like you cannot do, right? So how can you flip that? How can you reframe that? You can reframe that by focusing in on what you can control, and what you can't control, put it on the back burner. I use this analogy with my mental health clients, because I try to be, I ain't gonna say I try to be, I'm relatable. I'm a relatable therapist. I am professional, but I'm also a relatable therapist. So I say, okay, I want you to go look at your stove, right? Most of the time in our culture, we're going to use the 2 front eyes, and I call them eyes. Hey, so here's the thing. What are we going to put on that front eye? Let's focus on that, because if you have too many things on all 4 of these eyes, something is going to get burned. So I'm not saying that you can't focus in on things, but let's take one thing at a time. Those things that you can't control, let's put them to the side. But what can you control? I can control my attitude. I can control how I respond to this situation or to my health and wellness journey. I can control so many things. I have power and authority over so many things. So let me switch my mindset from focusing on what I can't do and focus on in what I can do. Because those things that when you start focusing in on those things that you can do, you'll come up with more ideas. You'll be more strategic in your planning and whatever you're doing. You'll have more vision. You'll have more clarity. You'll feel more at ease. But when you start focusing on things that you can't do, it's no success there. So you're gonna have these feelings of hopelessness and like you're a failure and that you will never succeed because you're focusing in on things that you can't control. We really can't control all of these external things. Some things we can, but we have to kind of switch that power, take our power back, and focus on those things that we can control, okay? And doing it step by step. Taking small steps. Sometimes we want to, go in on something, we go all in, but we're doing it too fast, right? So we need to make sure that what we're watering it, a little bit at a time. What they say, you're not gonna harvest the same time you plant. So we have to make sure that when we're giving focus to things, that we're also understanding that it's a process and it's not gonna happen overnight. Okay? So that was 3. Give attention and power. I love that word power, to what you can do instead of what you can't do. Focus in on those things that you can do. And not what you can't do. Because when you start focusing on those things that you can do, those things that you can't do will decrease. You won't even give it a lot of attention, okay? All right, so that was number 3, all right? Number 4 is think long-term instead of short-term. So sometimes when we're in our health and wellness journey, and I recall sometimes in my journey where I did that, start thinking really short-term, like, okay, if I could just, do this and I'll be good, But when it comes to your holistic health and wellness journey, you have to think long-term. Because for the simple fact, if you put a lot of short-term goals in your health and wellness journey, and if you're not able to meet them goals, you may start trying to experiencing like hopelessness, and maybe experiencing things as if you'll never complete them. So when you're thinking long term, you're able to be a little bit more strategic. And then when things happen, when life happens, you'll say, okay, well, this happened, but I'm still on track. So it can look different for everybody. Like, say for instance, if a situation happened in life, like you're looking at it you're looking at your journey from a long-term perspective, and life happens. Situations happen in life. So you can say within that, okay, well, this is a lifestyle thing. So when life does happen, it's okay for me to take a break. It's okay for me to, chill out for a minute or whatever the case may be, because I'm looking at this long term. This is not some short term. I just need to, lose XYZ, and then what's after that, And I don't blame us in a sense, because we're in this society that's so quick and microwave, like everything has to happen right away. Even with being on social media, you can scroll on something on one post and you're laughing, and then the next post you're sad because somebody, it's so much. And we're so in this instant microwave society that our thinking isn't long term anymore. And I think that it's done intentionally to always have us in this hyper anxious mode. So I think it's important that when you're embarking on your holistic health and wellness journey, think long term, think lifestyle instead of short term, especially if you're just starting off, because obviously you may have created some unhealthy habits. It's going to take some time, and it's okay. It's going to take some time to be able to break some of those unhealthy habits, break some of those unhealthy cycles, and then replacing them with more healthy habits, and changing those cycles to seasons. And that's something that I'll touch on. I'll touch on it sometime, the difference between cycle and season. And I've touched on it before, but I'll explain it, especially when it comes to your health and wellness journey, okay? What number? Okay, we on number Number five, okay? Redefine consistency on your own terms with progress, not perfection. Redefine consistency on your own terms, not with progress, not perfection. So consistency can be different for everybody. Your health and wellness journey is different for you. So the one thing that we can do when we try to compare our journeys, I think, I had a client one day. She knew me prior and she knew my journey, and I try to be transparent. I'm not gonna say the person's name, but it kind of threw me for a loop, and it kind of made me a little sad. Um, just being honest, and so I was providing service, wellness coaching service to this client, and she was making amazing progress, but it was so hard for her to see it because I think that she was more so leaning towards this perfectionism thing, and also she was comparing herself to me. And so she was saying, "Oh man, if I just would have stuck in there, I would have been where you are right now." And I had to kind of reframe that to her. I was like, "Well, our journeys are different, and I don't think it's healthy that you comparing yourself to me or anybody else, because our journeys are different, and you're still on the journey and you're making so much progress." And so she was a little hard on herself, and I'll get into that in another tip. But we have to make sure that we are defining what consistency looks like for us. And so an example would be, a person may say, okay, well, consistency for me is exercising 3 times out of a week. For another person, it may look like exercising 5 times a week. So you'll be the person to define that consistency. Another person with nutrition can be, well, on throughout the week, I meal prep and I eat all of my food, and then on the weekend I have one meal that I enjoy, and it's not a meal prep meal. That can be your and then you get back on schedule. So that can be your definition of consistency. So making sure that you're defining it on your own terms and not on perfection. Just personally, for me, oh my gosh, I had this perfectionism thing after I think I lost 100 pounds, because I'm like, yeah, I get it. I know what I'm doing. This, I was so full of myself, far as myself, right? Far as me reaching my personal goals. A lot of people didn't know my personal goals after I lost 100 pounds. Now, when I lost 100 pounds, I just wanted to feel better. I had no, size in mind. I had no, I want to, whatever, lose a certain amount of weight. I just was like, look, I just don't like how I'm feeling. Doctor saying I'm pre-diabetic. I had hypertension. I had all these other issues going on. I just wanted to feel better. But when I hold on, yeah, I lost my train of thought. So making sure that your consistency is defined by you, not by your trainers, not even by your wellness coaches or whomever. Make sure that you're okay with what you're doing. That's so important. Now, these people can offer some assistance and help, but you have to be that person to define your consistency. And not do it on perfection. I think that's what I was talking about. Yeah, so I used to do that. With my personal goals and try to be perfect. But it was so hard. I wasn't being kind to myself. I wasn't giving myself grace. That's not the way to be, especially when you're doing something holistically, So I had to kind of get off of that. I was like, this is not, you didn't get to this journey to lose all of this weight by perfectionism. It didn't happen that way. You had a lot of mistakes, a lot of shortcomings, and I still do. So I think one of the things I can say about this, just to close it, is when you're making progress, celebrate each progress step that you make. And when you may slip up, quote unquote, I don't like using that word, but is relatable, slip up, give yourself grace, because nobody's perfect. People may seem to be, but they're not. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go to number 6. Number 6 is release the all or nothing mindset. This is a good one, because sometimes when we get into our health and wellness journey, or any journey, we're like, okay, I gotta go hard. I'm either gonna do this or I'm not. Like, I'm either gonna go in or I'm not. Like, why are you putting so much pressure on yourself? Like, I wrote something down and I want to say this. It says, talk about thinking you have to get it right all the time. Like, why do you feel like you have to get it right all the time? Where does that all or nothing mindset come from? It's so extreme. And so when you're in your health and wellness journey, again, if you're looking long term, a benefit would be to release that extremist mindset, Now, it's a caveat to that. Like, I know it's times when you may have to do something that's really extreme. Some people may be having some health issues where they have to say, okay, the doctor was like, this is just an example. The doctor was like, you may need to stop eating a dairy because, you're having some stomach issues, and if not, you got to have surgery. And you're like, oh, I don't want to have this surgery, so I need to get rid of all the dairy quickly. So I get that. But regarding just, your basic health and wellness journey, I would say kind of release the all or nothing mindset, because it's a journey. It's a holistic journey. Because then again, when you're in that all or nothing mindset, you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. You're putting a lot of stress on yourself. And I want to touch on stress for a minute, because stress is huge. And so sometimes when we're finding ourselves in this all or nothing mindset, we're putting so much stress on ourselves, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And in this season, that's why I encourage people to kind of slow down a little bit, because everything is slower. Things are colder, because when you put yourself through so much stress of doing something, the main thing that gets attacked is your immune system. And I wanted to mention this in the last Freedom Friday, because your immune system can only your body can only respond to so many things. But if your body is in a state of stress, it thinks that you're in survival mode, consistent stress, let me say high stress. And so now your body is only trying to help you get that stress down. And so if something happens to your immune system gets attacked, because your stress levels are so high that it can't protect you anymore. Your body can't protect you anymore. So think of it this way. When you're in a high stress situation and consistently, your immune system goes down. It's science. It's God. It's law. I don't know any other way to say that. So being mindful of getting that equilibrium, being balanced, is so important when it comes to managing your stress, and also making sure that your immune system is on point. So always remember, when you're at high stress, this is high stress all the way up here, high stress. When you're in high stress, your immune system decreases automatically. You know it. When you're in high stress, sometimes you start sneezing, you get sick really quick. That's your immune system saying, hey, your body is telling you, hey, we got to release this all or nothing mindset on whatever it is, or we need to balance this stress, what's going on, So that was number 6. Release the all or nothing mindset, because in the long term, it's really not healthy. Now, if you got to do something really quick, I totally get that. I totally do. But for long-term change, let's release that. You're putting too much pressure on yourself. And we don't need that. We don't need that. It's enough pressure out here in these streets already. All right? Okay. We're moving along. Yes. So number 7 is kind of pretty much what we've already been talking about, is take more of a holistic approach to health and wellness. I am a holistic wellness coach, and I think that this is so important because, again, like I stated earlier, this world has us on this one track. This is the way things have to go. Um, and just ignore that we are human beings, But not only that, we're spiritual beings, having human experience. And so when we take that perspective, we have to look at our lives and our how we show up. We have to look at how we take care of ourselves from a holistic perspective. And so, more so, the holistic perspective for me and my business and how I work with clients is I focus in on the physical. And this is not like ranking order, it's just how this goes. I focus in on the physical, that includes exercise and sleep, because sleeping is physical. I focus on emotional and mental. I focus on nourishment and nutritional. So that's that. And also spirituality and social. So I take that holistic perspective because all of those things matter. I'll do another Freedom Friday and break that down, and let you all know what that actually encompasses and what that looks like. But I think as all human beings, I can say, I guess this is my opinion. I try not to put too much of my opinion in here. I think I do. I don't know. But I think that the best way that we can live the life that God has created us to live is coming from a holistic perspective, a whole person. Because we are whole people. We're not bits and pieces and parts. We're not Frankenstein people. Like, what do you call them things? I don't know. Like when we were little, I'm holding my arm because you can pop off the arm and then you can put it on. Mr. Potato Head. I think that's what we're not Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. Like, we are whole beings, right? That was a weird toy. Like, who would make a Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head toy? I don't know. I think it was something behind that. Pay me no mind. My mind, when something pops in that's just weird, I be like, why did they even do that? But anywho, now I'm gonna go research it. But anyway, but again, we are holistic people. Your physical exercise, your sleep matters. Oh my God, sleep is so huge and it's so underrated. Do you know that if you consistently, and I'm talking about maybe for a week, if you don't get enough hours of sleep, don't you know that they can lead you to type 2 diabetes? Like, sleep is so, like, listen, I could do a whole thing about sleep. I have been researching sleep for quite some time. And oh my God, I can't even tell you how important sleep is. Rest your body, because that's when your body actually does most of its healing. Now, if you're a person that's working out, and you're doing it the right way, you know how important rest is. Because a lot of people think when you go to the gym, like, and you're pumping your weights or whatever the case may be, that your body is transforming. Then no, your body transforms at rest. The same way with healing, your body heals during rest. Get you some sleep, okay? So take a holistic approach. Again, the sleep, that's the physical. Emotional, mental, we touched on that. This is what this is about, your mindset. Maybe you have some unmet emotional needs that may need to be addressed and you kept throwing it under the rug. Go get therapy, get a good therapist, get a good life coach, a spiritual counselor, somebody that you may not know that's not going to tell you what you want to hear and sugarcoat things. You need someone that you don't know, and someone professional, certified in these things, okay? What did I stop off? Nutrition, nourishment. What foods are you eating? I'm a big advocate of eating foods the way God intended it. God did not create potato chips, but he created potato. Eat the potato, child. If you want to cut it up a little bit, yeah, that's great. But that's not eating all these highly ultra processed foods. That can wreak havoc in your body and how you're thinking. I can go on and on about that. But nourishment, how are you nourishing yourself? That goes with nutrition, but that also goes with just how are you taking care of yourself in a nourishing way? Are you nurturing yourself? Are you activating self-care? All right. Spirituality, it is what it is. What is your spiritual foundation? What do you believe in? And that matters. That matters how you show up in the world. And also social, your environment matters. Your internal environment and your external environment. Who are you around? If you're around five broke people, you know what they say, you're going to be the six. If you are around whomever, you're going to be that. So get around people who are where you want to be or desire to be. If you're around all these people and they're not where you want to be or what you want to do, then you may need to consider changing your outer environment. Okay? So that's how that breaks down holistically. Okay? But I'll go into detail another time. All right. So that was number 7. Take a more holistic approach to your health and wellness journey. Okay? Number 8. Small movements small increments changes are what brings about real transformation in the long run. Yes, small changes. And I always share this story. I'm going to share it again. Small changes are key. I can't tell you how many people I've met, not even clients, but, they want to make changes. They try to do this big thing, and they doing too many things at one time. They're over planning, overthinking, ruminating over it, and they get nowhere. That's all that they get, So making small changes, increment changes is key. I'm going to give you a great example when it comes to my health and wellness journey. So, let's say, okay. I was, starting to cut back on certain foods. Let me see, what I do, the drink one or the bread one? I'll do the bread one. I'll do the bread one. Okay. So, I used to eat a lot of bread. I didn't care what it is. I grew up in a household where, we didn't have everything that we needed. We were eating sugar sandwiches. Pretty much sugar, a little toasted, maybe not, bread, and sugar. Right? So I've been eating sugar. Well, I've been eating bread. I was eating bread as a young child, and so we had sugar sandwiches and different things like that. So bread was one of those hard things for me to let go, because you eat a sandwich and different things like that. Now, let me throw this out here. I don't vilify foods, right? Only ultra processed foods, right? Bread is okay on some levels. I'll get into what breads aren't and what breads are in another video. Or you can just, ask the question in the comment section, and I can tell you which ones that are really good and which ones you should stay away from or don't consume as often. But anyways, back to the story. I love bread. Like, I just eat bread. Just eat it. Just eat bread. Cornbread, Jiffy, hot water cornbread, bread. So when I started getting my health and wellness journey and started doing some research, I was like, okay, they were saying that you may need to back up off the bread. Don't do it cold turkey, because I'm not an advocate of cold turkey. I think that you should take the small increments. Some people can do cold turkey. Good for you. Like, that's great. But most of us really need to take these small steps. And so anyways, I was like, cool. By that point I had cut back on my sodas, because I never drank water. All I drank was sodas and juice. I said, okay, I'm going to cut back on the bread. So I was eating straight up white bread. I ain't know nothing about no whole wheat, no nothing. I didn't come from a house that had whole wheat bread. We ate white bread. We ate Wonder Bread. I had to think of the little colors and the little dots. We ate Wonder Bread. And sometimes it wasn't Wonder Bread. It was just bread. Who knows what bread? And but it was always white bread, enriched white, ultra high processed bread. So I said, okay, cool. I don't think I could just stop eating it. So I was like, okay, I'll go to wheat. So I went to wheat bread. And I was like, okay, but they saying it's healthy. I'm gonna continue to eat it. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to whole grain. I was like, this is interesting. This grain got seeds in it, and I don't know, but it's not that bad. My taste buds started changing a little bit. Okay, I can do this. So I stuck in the whole bread game for a minute. I was grooving my whole bread, whole wheat, whole somebody grain bread, right? And so then, remember these are small increments. And then I was like, okay, my next step would be to maybe eat one slice of bread, when I eat a sandwich, possibly. So I was like, okay. It didn't happen overnight because it's something about holding, the sandwich and eating it, It's just something about that, And you fold it up. You're like, what is this? Like, I don't know. But, okay, cool. It's like, okay, I can do this. Okay, let me try. I didn't get it, this whole process was like trial and error. But I kept going. I made those small changes. And so I did the one piece of bread for quite some time. And I was like, okay, well, people are eating like tortilla wraps, instead of bread. And I was like, okay, I can do the tortilla wraps. Like, oh yeah, But they weren't like white tortilla wraps. They were kind of like the quote unquote healthy, which they're not. But anyways, whole wheat, tortilla wraps. Cool. Then I was like, okay, I rolled that out for a minute. I was making peanut butter and jelly rolls. I was, on my health and wellness journey, I was still in it. And then I was like, okay, people are doing lettuce for bread? Like, who does that? Like, this is just not right. But I'm going to try it to see. Because by that time, my taste buds was changing. Like, I really didn't want bread, But I was like, if I have a sandwich, okay, I'm going to do a tortilla roll. A tortilla thing. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll do lettuce, And so after a while, it was just lettuce. And then I was like, do I really even want this sandwich? And then that was it. But that took, y'all, I want to say that was months. It was months how I did that. And so I know for some people, you may just say, boom, I can do this and do that. But I'm just giving you an example of what I did. I don't even have the desire for bread anymore. Like I said, there's some healthier breads out there, but most of it is highly ultra processed. So my example, the reason that I did this is just breaking it down for small increments, small changes. Like even when I was a heavier person, just bringing back some memories. I was working out with this workout group and they were doing jumping jacks. I can't even tell, like when I started, I never like really did a jumping jack, maybe in high school or PE or something. And I can only do like 10. And I went home and I bawled. I cried. I was like, oh my God, like what's going on? Like my knees were, it was just so much. Oh my God. But I didn't give up. I was like, okay, if I can only do 10, I'm going to do 10. So if you're watching this video and you can only do 10 jumping jacks, do your 10 and be good at your 10. Don't think about 100. Think about your 10. If you can only do 5, do them 5 like you can't do 5 no more. Like continue to do your 5 jumping jacks, So back then I could only do 10 jumping jacks. But I was like, I'll make these the best 10 jumping jacks that I could ever do. Because here's the thing. I know that I will get to 11 and I will get to 12. But I can't do that if I stop. And I can't do that if I don't think in small increments. Yeah, I know the 100 is there, and this person may be doing 150, and this person may be doing 30, and this person may be doing 28. But I'm gonna do these 10, and I'm gonna do these 10 like I can't do 10 no more. So that's the thing about small. And now I don't know how many I can do now. Who knows? I don't even count. But I was able to work my way up to doing 10 jumping jacks. To maybe back then, doing a jumping jack for a whole song or something, like for 4 minutes. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. But it was more than 10. So I'm saying all of this to say, make sure that you're taking small increments. And then to think of the beauty about small increments, you all, is you get to celebrate when you go to the next level. We don't celebrate ourselves enough. Man, we be so quick to do the next thing, and we don't even celebrate ourselves enough. We be like, okay, I did that, and then what's next? Because that's how society has tried to train us to always looking for the next big thing or the next this and the next diet and the next exercise and the next, like, we don't even know how to celebrate ourselves. Or, oh, I'm gonna even say this, we look for others to celebrate us. That's bad too, because they'll celebrate you when you're up, but when you're down and you don't fool with them no more, they ain't gonna celebrate you. So your celebration should be on you, you know. Also, other people will celebrate you, so get around people who celebrate you and not just tolerating you. That's a sidebar. But when you make those small increments, you're able to celebrate, be like, oh yeah, whatever that looks like. For me, I used to celebrate myself by buying me maybe some new workout shoes. You know, this is about physical exercise. Other ways I celebrate myself now is, how do I celebrate myself now? Oh, I take my rest days. I take my PTO. I take my vacation. I do that. You know, I wasn't really good in that. I used to just work. But now I celebrate myself and I say, oh, I'm going to take me a mental health day and I ain't going to do nothing. You know, sometimes I buy stuff and I ain't too big on that, you know, but make sure that you're celebrating yourself in these small increments. I know I pound on that one, but maybe that was something that somebody really, really needed to hear. Maybe that was your moment of like feeling like you're stuck and you're like, okay, this is what I needed to hear at this time, you know. And if you're watching, you may watch now or later, share this live with someone you love. It's so important to share this information, okay? Number 9, I love this one, and I already mentioned it earlier, was to give yourself grace. Hey, this journey ain't finna be easy. I ain't even finna lie to you. It's not. But at the same time, while it won't be easy, I do want you to I want to encourage you to give yourself grace. Mainly, first of all, because God gave us grace every day. He gives us grace every day. God gives us grace every day. I have to say that again. Guys, God gives us grace. The Most High God gives us grace every day. How beautiful that is. Because, child, listen. Whew, okay. But for real, model that to yourself. God gives us a perfect model of that. Do that to yourself. Give yourself grace. It's okay. It is okay if you mess up. You know, who defines that? Like, who defines how we mess up? You know, you do. So if you're defining that, you may need to reframe your mindset of how you look at failure. You know, I think I talked about that in the last live, as far as like failure can be looked at as lessons instead of failure, because, you know, failure has this, you know, this attachment to it, like you're not good enough, you'll never be, or it just doesn't have, it has this negative connotation to it pretty much. But when you look at it as a lesson, you're like, okay, well, I'm the student. What do I need to learn? You know, what can I get from this to help me along on my journey? Not just for me, but for others. But in order to do that, you have to give yourself grace first. And then say, okay, what can I learn from this? You know, for me, and again, I'm transparent. I learned that I cannot work out like I did in the past. Woo, no. Like, I think I learned this lesson after the pandemic. Like, I know everything was shut down and everybody was like, okay, you know, people that was, you know, avid gym goers, and that was me, was like, you know, okay, what are we gonna do? You know, like, oh my God, you know, we can't, like, you know, we're not even thinking that we could just go outside and take a walk, or we could just do some. We were like, so we were gym rats. I was one. Child, listen. I'm only 41. I'm still young, but listen, I can't do all, no. I can still do type of exercises. Like, I can still do all the exercises that I did in the past. But that and it was over exercise. I just didn't know any better back then. That over exercising was so uncalled for. For me, it was uncalled for. So in my mind, I'm in survival mode again. I'm like, oh, everything is shut down. Oh, I don't want to gain no weight. You know, pandemic, yada yada yada. And I was going through, you know, a lot of people passing away in my family. So I'm already like, okay, I'm getting through that. I'm doing that. Let me go back out there. My body was like, you lying. I'm telling you, my body was like, no ma'am. No ma'am. I need for you to chill because you're still stressed. And you're trying to go out here. I'm not going to allow you to do it. And my body shut down. And I did not work out for like maybe a month or two. But you know what? It brought me so much clarity and peace. You know, it really did. And I may talk about how it happened in another live. But I can say from that, I gave myself grace. It was hard. It was hard. It was like, you know, you have to be, you have to do this. You know, you have to, you're a wellness coach. What do you mean? You have to be out here working out. You have to be, you have to do this. You have to, how are you going to present yourself as a holistic wellness coach and you ain't worked out in like a month? Like, how are you going to do that? And that was a hard pill for me to swallow. But when I gave myself grace, it was so relieving. I felt so amazing. I was like, because you know why? Part of a holistic wellness journey is knowing when to stop and when to give yourself grace, when to rest, when to pause, so you can be restored and renewed, you know, in mind, in spirit, and in body. And so that was the space that I'm in, and that's the space that I'm. How can I say this? I am a huge advocate for resting and being softer and not being so hard on yourself. I'm huge for that. Now, I am a go-getter. I'm goal-oriented. When I go, I go. But I also balance that off with rest, with being renewed, with being restored, with being replenished. So that's my testimony about giving yourself grace. I would love to hear some of you all's testimony about how do you give yourself grace. You know, this week has been very busy. I go to the gym still. I kind of back up off it a little bit because people not clean. I look like my mama when I said that. But people are not clean. I ain't trying to look at myself, but you know, it's a video. And people just not clean. So I go to the gym on off hours, you know, when there's not a lot of people there, and I do my thing, but I'm not working out like that stuff. That's gone. That ain't here no more, and I'm so glad it ain't, because I couldn't maintain that, you know. I couldn't maintain that. So again, give yourself grace, be kind, be gentle to yourself, you know. And I'm telling you, it will be life changing. Okay. No stinking. I want to add no stinking thinking. So that's a kind of term that we use in mental health. You know, people have stinking thinking. It's kind of like negative thinking about yourself. And I did mention it earlier about being hopeless, you know, thinking that you're a failure because you didn't hit certain markers or goals. And so you can start having that negative conversation about yourself, you know, and you have to be so aware of that because words have power, y'all. Our words have power. If words didn't have power, we won't even have a dictionary. Like, that dictionary is there for a reason. Like, you know, the encyclopedia is here for a reason. Words have power. They created sentences for a reason. You know, the Bible, words have power. And so being mindful of how you're talking to yourself is so important. Making sure that you're not thinking negatively about yourself. And, you know, that takes some work, because you can be in environments that's, you know, that happens in all the time. Or you could have been brought up in an environment where that's all you heard, people talking negative to themselves and they're talking negative about others. You know, a lot of gossiping, a lot of, you know, just messiness, you know. And so you may be in an environment that's like that and maybe not even realizing, because it's just how you are. But making sure that you're checking in with yourself and say, how am I talking to myself? You know,
how am I, what am I saying to myself? What am I thinking to myself? You know, um, one of the things that I do, well, I give an option for clients to weigh themselves or not. I'm not big on that. I'm really not. If you all may or may not know, I used to be for a brief period. I I counsel clients with eating disorders, and wow, um, a lot of diet culture has some eating disorder components. A lot. That's why I'm not big on diet culture anymore, because I can't even describe how much uh, of that plays into diet culture, eating disorders. And so I'm not big on scales. I'm not big on counting calories. I didn't count calories when I released 100 pounds. I counted calories for a short amount of time. I counted macros for a short amount of time. It was a great learning experience. But it's too tedious and it's not real. Like, I don't think God wants us to count calories with our food. If we have to count calories with our food, we probably not eating the right food. But that's neither here nor there. But I'm saying all that to say, I don't really require clients to weigh themselves, because it can give this self-defeating thing, because your weight fluctuates so much. Even if you you weigh a certain thing and then you take a shower, you're gonna weigh more, because water, your body absorbs, your skin absorbs everything, and it absorbs the water. You may gain, some weight, and you're supposed to, your body. That's what happens, But a person that has this thinking, or caught in this mindset, this diet culture mindset, that can take them down through there if they gain a couple of pounds, And so I saw that firsthand, being an eating disorder, working with those who had eating disorder as a therapist. And it shook me, because a lot of, like I said, a lot of that is in diet culture, and I was a part of that, and was unaware. And so yeah, that's really not healthy, weighing yourself. I had one client that was, I'm not gonna share. It was just disheartening. But release the stinking thinking. If you need assistance with that, seek a therapist, a license. And I'm gonna keep throwing it out there, because our culture think we can just pray things away. God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. But also, God has equipped people, gifted people. People are walking in their purpose as therapists, as counselors, as wellness coaches, that know how to help people to reverse this thinking. Because again, what you're thinking it's going to show up externally in your relationships, at your jobs, with yourself, with your loved ones. It's going to show. So that's very important. No stinking thinking. Think highly of yourself. You are the child of the Most High God. God created you in His image and likeness. How awesome is that? So if you know that you created in the image and likeness of God, that thinking gotta go. And look, I'm realistic. I know it happens. It's happened to me before, but it can be reversed. You don't have to think negatively about yourself. Okay. So that was a part of 9, and we're on the last one. We're on the last one. Okay, and I love the reason I'm doing this, because I love it. Enjoy yourself and have fun. Like, life be lifing, y'all. Like, life be lifing. So make sure in this health and wellness journey, when it comes to your mindset for success, whatever success looks like to you, make sure that you're having fun and enjoying it. Like, for me, I'm gonna tell you, I'm so, fun for me is corny. Like, my type of fun is very corny, but it's my fun. Like, when it comes to my health and wellness journey, y'all, what's fun to me is maybe learning a new type of, way to work out. Like, I don't know, I'll create something. I'm a creator, I guess, We all are creators, you know, but I like to create sometime, and so I'll maybe do something different with my workout. Another fun thing I like to do, I love to walk and listen to podcasts. Like, I am a podcast head. I love information. I love learning, researching. I don't know where that came from. It just happened, especially in my health and wellness journey, and you know, in my professional life, social work, all of that stuff. It came about with that. But that's something that I enjoy. Like, if I could put a podcast on, I will walk forever. I will walk 1,000 miles. Like, but I just love it, you know. So make sure that you're having fun in your journey. Get around some positive, good energy. I can't tell you how important that is. Get around people that are fun, and not just, you know, for exercise, but just in life in general. Find people you can do life with and have fun with and enjoy. You know, that's so important. That's so important. For me, I'm in different stages in my journey. Like, some of the things that I used to enjoy, I just don't enjoy anymore. And so now I'm in a space of trying to cultivate relationships and friendships with things that people that we have some similarities, and we're just enjoying life. Like, I like boring, corny stuff. I know I'm kind of being judgmental because I keep saying that to myself, so I'm gonna check that. But my type of fun is kind of, may not be fun to the next person. I like traveling. I like I don't know. I just like, you know, I like conversations. You know, I don't like talking about people. I like talking about ideas. So that's my idea of fun. You know, movies, different things like that. So I'm just giving some examples, because sometimes I'm gonna tell you this and I'm gonna get off. We think we too grown. You know, like, how could I say this? We forget to play. We forget to play. Like, we forget to have fun and just be like, if you're a child of God, look, you are a child. You know, sometimes we get so into ourselves, and we're, you know, business owners. We're this and we're that. That's cool. We got all the degrees, you know, whatever. But we forget to have fun. One of the things, I'm going to share this with you. One of the things that I did, and it brought back so many memories, especially for me and my sister who passed away not too long ago. I went to Tarjay. Okay, I could have went to Walmart, but I didn't. I can't go there. Whew, gives me a little anxiety. But I went to Tarjay, and I went on I was like, let me go to you know how you're supposed to go in Target for like detergent, but somehow that red cart go all down the other aisles. So I went down I went to the toy section, and I saw a light bright. Oh my gosh. I got that joker. And I was just like, I can't, I'm so excited to play this light bright, because I loved that as a child. So it brought back some really, really good memories. The little pegs, like, do those things. That helps to relieve stress. That helps you to be present in the moment. It's just, it makes you feel good. It releases those good endorphins, and it just makes you feel just good to be able to just be a child and just, you know, just have fun, laugh, watch cartoons. I have somebody, an adult client, that's their fun time. They watch cartoons. And I think that that's so awesome, and that's so great, because we get so caught up in bills and life and things like that, and we forget to have fun and enjoy this life while we're here. And that's a huge mindset shift. We don't always have to be business and mind focused. And I'm saying that, I'm preaching to the choir, because baby, I got my light bright, and I'm probably gonna do it tonight after my session. I have a session, but I'm probably gonna do that tonight. But just have fun and get around people who love to have fun and enjoy life too, because we only have one life to live, and we need to live it the best way possible, in a holistic way. Okay. So wow. Yeah, I guess I got done in good timing. I usually try to do an hour. So, but thank you all so much for taking time out to invest in your health and wellness. I love these Freedom Fridays. I think it's just awesome to be able to just be in front of you all. I thank you so much for taking time out. If you have any questions about anything health related or anything that I shared in this live, please feel free to leave your message or comment. I'm getting better with checking my inboxes, you all, but yeah, it's a little weird sometimes on Facebook. But anyways, if you desire or you know someone that could use maybe some health coaching, please feel free to send them my information or share this live. If you know someone that may need mental health therapy or counseling, please give them my information as well. If you don't want to like put the information there, you can email me at marquitahudson@livewellbeautiful.com, or you can go to my website www.livewellbeautiful.com. Okay, so next Friday we are going to skip, just because it's the holidays and people chilling with their families. Whatever you do, it's on you, boo. It's on you. So next Friday we will skip, but I may post some little stuff just to keep you all engaged about products and different things. If you can see on my page right now, I'm just putting the information out there. Just use it as you please. So enjoy your families, love on your loved ones, show yourself some love in the process, and never ever forget and always remember to live well, and be well. Okay? Blessings. Have a good night. Bye.